Hi, Alan Stratton here from CostMatters.com. As a financial controller in a couple of companies, I had a lot of responsibility. In general, I fulfilled my responsibilities well, but there was always one area that I struggled with: cost reduction. In one sense, all expenses went through my organization. Payroll, we paid everyone in the facility. Fixed assets, we knew where every piece of equipment was, what it cost, and how it was depreciating. Accounts payable, we paid the bills for all expenses. Travel, all travel expense reimbursements came through my team. There was very little financially that we did not observe, transact, or report on. Still, even with all this, cost reduction was a big problem. As controller, I signed off on most purchase requisitions. I questioned what looked unusual. However, there was always a good reason behind the request. One time, when business was especially bad, my general manager asked for a real-time summary of the cost of purchase requisitions. That was another waste of time for me and for everyone submitting a purchase requisition. Everything, it seemed, was being spent for a good reason. So where could we reduce cost? With my team, we analyzed the financial statements, all expense items, payroll taxes, payroll benefits, facility protection, facility maintenance, equipment maintenance, and on and on and on. At the time, I remembered an example of cost reduction from very early in my career. At that time, needing a photocopy, I walked upstairs to the nearest copy machine. On the copier, there was a notice telling everyone not to make more than 10 copies on this machine. This notice was probably intended to direct people needing more copies to the larger machine elsewhere in the building. This was a very large, fast, and expensive machine. It was behind a counter and serviced by 2 or 3 people, so that they could keep the machine busy and productive. The problem was that you had to wait your turn to get your copies. Back at the small copier with the sign on it, I approached the copier but found myself behind one woman. She put her original on the glass, set the number of copies to 10, and made her copies. Then she lifted the cover, put it back, and made 10 more copies of the same original. She did this 8 more times. She had followed the rules, but certainly not the intent. Since then, I've realized that cost reduction is usually a futile attempt to relieve a symptom. Worse yet, the symptomatic relief does not last. It has adverse side effects, and cost often rebounds to levels higher than before. Real cost reduction addresses the cause of the cost, the root causes, not just the symptom. Cost is a primary and observable symptom of work being performed. Without incurring cost, nothing happens. So cost is always present and observable. The ultimate cost reduction is to stop all operations. But frankly, that's ridiculous. Real cost reduction results from the balance between what needs to be done, efficiency, waste, and the results obtained. Real cost reduction requires empowering people making front-line operational choices and decisions to understand both the benefits and the costs of their decisions. It cannot be left solely to finance. Finance by itself can only scrape at it. By itself, finance cannot cure the problem. In fact, they often irritate it and make it worse. However, frontline operations people with good information and assisted by good financial information can make excellent decisions that result in appropriate or optimal levels of cost. Since that time, I help finance to use principles and methods of activity-based cost to give operating personnel good, actionable information instead of financial statement information. Together, finance and operations find how to obtain real cost reduction, or better yet, cost optimization. What are your experiences with cost reduction? Please share them below this post at costmatters.com. When cost matters, profits soar. This is Alan Stratton from costmatters.com. Thank you.